So, what is a trade union, and should I join one? Well, basically, if you cast your mind back to the times of old, days of old, feudalism, where peasants and serfs slaved the land, they farmed, they worked the land, they did their jobs from dawn till dusk, hoping to get a scrap back that they could eat, feed their families and live. The feudal overlord, the duke, the king, whoever it was, would take in everything that they owned, and they paid taxes to him, they'd rent the land off him, and it would always been of him. And the workers would get nothing back. And essentially, they were property of the feudal overlord or the king or whoever. Fast forward and times change, but still the workers are there to be exploited. And on an individual level, they are completely replaceable. So go up that chimney, lad. No, I don't want to. You're fired. Oi, come here, lad. Go up the chimney. Now, trade unionism started when workers realised that, okay, yes, on an individual level, we are replaceable, but actually collectively, we're not. Because we are the ones who keep whatever the system, the services, going. So if we look at, for example, the RMT and the train industry, very strong union, they down tools, the system stops. They have to be listened to. If one person does it, the system carries on. But if everyone does it, the system stops. And that is the essence behind trade unionism, really. It's saying, well, one of us can be exploited, two of us can be exploited, but actually if all of us stand strong and are in agreement, we cannot be exploited. So it's about the workers recognising that collectively they are more powerful than the boss. Not individually, but collectively. Now, this holds true for whatever organisation, whatever service you are working in. In some industries it's harder, but it is still possible. Now, there are instances throughout history of trade unionism forming in all sorts of work. And actually, as work changes, trade unions change. So now trade unions are figuring out how do we support people, Uber drivers and things like this who are technically, I guess, self-employed, but pay things back. And actually, again, successful strikes in Downing and boycotts worked in New York. They raised the minimum wage of Uber. It can happen, but it takes people to come together collectively. So that's the premise of trade unionism. And the reason it's important is because if you don't do that, you're basically surrendering all decision-making about your organisation, about your role, your pay and your conditions to the boss. And that's fine, but the boss's interest probably doesn't align with yours. It does on a daily basis when you're delivering your service because you want to do your job well. They want you to do your job well. But when you think about the broader movements, it will start to diverge because you might actually want to have breaks at work, whereas they might be thinking, I don't want the shop floor to be empty for 10 minutes. And this is where trade unionism is important because it stops the boss exploiting the workers based on their sole needs of making profit. Now, in Britain, for people in my generation, we didn't really grow up with a strong trade union presence or movement, so we're having to relearn what that means. And actually, through my journey into trade unionism, I've learned so much by engaging with trade union events and going to rank and file conferences where I've started to learn about the history of it. And it is quite amazing, really. And it does show me how actually all the things that I grew up taking for granted, bank holidays, weekends, sick pay, holiday pay, all these amazing things that I kind of just assumed we had came because people fought for it. So before sick pay, if you're off sick, you just wouldn't eat. Then people say, well, that's not fair. Like, we all keep the service going just because I'm ill. When the boss is ill, his paychecks keep rolling in. So when we're ill, why does it stop? And this again is like where all the progress that we've made in our workers' rights come from, the idea that together we cannot be beaten. So trade unionism requires more of you than just to pay your subs. It also isn't about just getting help when you're in trouble, which is quite often how it's missolved. That's a form of trade unionism called servicing, where you pay your subs and someone comes and helps you when you're in trouble. That's not real trade unionism. Real trade unionism is where you and your workforce, your colleagues in a workplace become the trade union. Not the officials employed by the trade union, not the boss somewhere else, the trade union, but you become the trade union. You decide what happens in your workplace. You negotiate directly with the boss on things like your pay, your conditions on the working day. And this is about restoring the balance because we live in a deeply unequal and unfair society. Like even in the UK, we think of it as fair. Like the Gini coefficient for income basically shows that we're moderately unjust. The Gini coefficient for wealth shows that we're extremely unjust. And that kind of reflects the power dynamic as well, because those who have make the decisions, those who don't suffer those decisions. And actually we're seeing it kind of broader in political in the political arena now, because we're having decisions made to us, about us, and done by us, and we're fed up. Whoever we vote in seems to fail us. And that's because, again, we've separated ourselves from the movement. We've given our power over to someone else and asked them to help us. Trade unionism doesn't give your power to anyone else. You build power with your colleagues. So you don't allow people to have power over you. You don't give your power away. You actually develop your power with your colleagues. And that is how you create change. So if you're not doing it, who else is going to do it for you? Like, your boss isn't. They want to exploit you. That's the job of a boss. People in another workplace aren't going to do it because it's not affecting them. It needs to be you in your workplace. So the first step I would say is make sure you're in a union, join them, but then find out a bit more, where is your local branch? Go and speak to your local branch. Speak to your colleagues. If they're not in a union, get them to join together and hold a meeting. You don't need permission from anyone else to hold a trade union meeting. You can do it. Speak to your colleagues, hold a trade union meeting, and then speak to your union and find out what training they've got. Become a rep. Join parts of the movement that are there to help you, like Strike Map's Rep Network or the GFTU, General Federation of Trade Unions educational program. Start to learn and start to hone your organising skills so that you can build collective power in your workplace. That's what trade unionism is. Trade unionism is claiming back our power, claiming back our rights, and claiming back our control. So join a union today. Please subscribe. Catch you later.